Let's move on now to the Cincinnati Bengals in our 2023 free agency review. But before we do that, this is the last series when it comes to the 2023 offseason in regards to the free agency portion. Before we pivot to previewing the 2023 season, previewing division winners, picks, predictions of games, etc. And what does that mean for you? That means a lot more Cincinnati Bengals content. So be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you can get notified when that content gets released and can watch it immediately. And Ryan, with that being said, let's get into it here.
Let's jump into it.
Cincinnati Bengals came just a few plays short of being the representatives of the AFC again in the Super Bowl. And they did lose a little bit in the secondary as well that I think that they were able to replace. And I don't think it'll be as big a loss because their secondary, particularly in the corner position, has struggled, such as Eli Apple, who has not been re-signed yet. I don't believe he will be. But yeah. But in general, though, I think the team made strides forward to helping their chances to maybe overcome the Chiefs again.
No, yeah. I mean, I think you look, a lot of their draft was going to be adding depth at key spots. And while I might have disagreed with their first-round draft pick approach, I do think that provides good depth. I just think it was a position that they already had good depth. But then I think you look at what they did in the receiver room, and we can look at their roster here in a second. I really like the depth that they added there in the mid-round. So let's go ahead. Let's just pull up their roster. And I just mentioned the receiver room. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, clearly the best wide receiver trio in the NFL. And then I really like the addition of Charlie Jones and Andre Yoshivas.
Yeah.
They, I think, add really good depth to actually a room that, besides those top three guys, didn't necessarily have any weapons at the 4 and 5 spot at the wide receiver group. And I think those guys come in and they actually make the roster right away. So, and then you look at, they had a lot of problems at the tackle position in 2022, go out and they bring in Orlando Brown to strengthen up this offensive line, right? Cordell Volson, Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, all pretty solid interior offensive linemen, and then Jonah Williams on the right side. So I really like this offensive line and what they've built. This wide receiver room got deeper, believe it or not. And I think this offense is going to be clicking in 2023.
Yeah, no, getting Orlando Brown Jr. over there, and this offensive line was doing really well until they started to get injured in like week 16, 17, 18. And so
barring the first 4 games.
Barring the first 4 games, absolutely, yeah. And so, but then once they got it figured out, then they were just on a tear like the rest of the way throughout the season. And I think adding Orlando Brown is just I think he's going to fit right in. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a great year as well. And the depth they got at the skill position players, I'm not sure. Did you mention Chase Brown also at the running back position?
I didn't get to the running back room.
Okay.
I was going to do a little thing on Joe Mixon. And
so I would say then I'll just segue. I like the Chase Brown depth here in case if Joe Mixon is not able to play or something happens to him, or also just in the future if they just want to just move on from Joe Mixon.
No, yeah. I mean, I want to say he has charges out against him right now. And he's having some off-the-field stuff. So I like the Chase Brown pick because I think it's a high-floor pick. For me, what he brings to the table is just a solid do-it-all back, right? He can catch passes. He can run. He doesn't do either at an elite level, but he's just a really solid do-it-all back that I think fits into this offense really well. So
yeah, I agree.
But let's get into this defense here. And this defense was really good in 2022, and they kind of play right into the offense's hands, right? The teams have to score points against the Bengals, so they like to play this off zone, right? And they like to get after the passer, right? Trey Hendrickson, really solid pass rusher. Sam Hubbard as well. And then DJ Reader and BJ Hill up the middle. I mean, they're run stuffing, not letting anybody really push them around. So adding Miles Murphy to this group, I really like it as a player. I don't know if I would have spent a first-round pick on him, but yeah.
I get it. If they wanted to go Joey Porter Jr., who was still available at that time, I also would have gotten that also. But for this defense, like Miles Murphy more than Nolan Smith. Miles Murphy, I remember at the time we didn't
Yeah.
like it, but after thinking about it more, Miles Murphy is more of a Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard-esque type defensive end than Nolan Smith is. It's Nolan Smith is your Micah Parsons-esque type, like outside linebacker, edge rusher, so to say. And so he just fits this defense better. And we all know the type of potential that Miles Murphy has. I think he's able to be behind Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, and looks like whenever Sam Hubbard's contract is over, or Trey Hendrickson, whoever they want to move on from, he'll be able to kind of fill in that void. And so he's a little pressure right now, while also adding good depth. The one to me that I actually would have gone a different direction personally, I wouldn't have gone DJ Turner. I think that's a little high. If they wanted to go secondary, I'm trying to remember who exactly was there at that time. I mean, the Falcons got Clark Phillips later, but he's significantly smaller. But DJ Turner, to me, I would have gone a different route on the secondary position, just personally. But that being said, though, they similar to my comments on Washington, they needed to address the secondary. They did address the secondary in back-to-back picks. So can't complain about them addressing it. I just would have gone maybe a different player.
Yeah, to me, every year there's a guy that shows up at the combine and just burns in the 40. And this year it was DJ Turner. Last year it was Tyquan Thornton. A couple years ago it was John Ross, right? And those guys, they always seem to move up into the second round just because they have elite speed. And the Bengals took him here. I do think he has some coverage skills. He's a little undersized, and athletically he can play outside corner. He's just 5'11", 180 pounds. So I do want to go back to the Miles Murphy thing. My thing with that pick, right, is you have a rotational guy who's now playing defensive end when a guy like Michael Mayer was still on the board, who could have come in and been your clear tight end one, right? And like, to me, that's the opportunity cost there is like, what are you missing out on by taking Miles Murphy instead of another player? And that's
fair. I mean, and that's fair for a best player available argument. But the one thing, though, then it's like, what if everyone compares Michael Mayer to Gronk? What if Michael Mayer turns into Hayden Hurst? Would you really want to spend a first-round pick on Hayden Hurst, who was the tight end last year, who was a good average tight end? But I'm not sure when he was drafted, but at the same time,
Hayden Hurst was actually a first-round pick.
Was he really?
Yeah, by the Ravens.
Oh, okay. Well, I completely stand corrected then.
Yeah, so like I get that now, knowing what Hayden Hurst is, but to me, like Michael Mayer, he comes in and he's clearly your starting tight end, whereas Miles Murphy now is, I think, assigned to this rotational pass rusher role, at least for his first season. I know contracts can expire and whatnot, so that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But all in all, I mean, I think the Bengals they did a lot to continue to be as dominant as they have been. But let's get into what a successful season would look like for the Cincinnati Bengals. And for me, I think it's pretty obvious. They're Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, my mind's being blown. It's still being blown by Hayden Hurst. So,
yeah, he was actually a really good tight end prospect out of South Carolina, I believe.
Well, and that's where it's like, what's he worth a first round pick though? It's like he's good, but I mean
if you look at it now, no. But like you can also do the same thing with the Ravens and Mark Andrews, right? Like he was a third round pick, and it was like, well, I would spend a first round pick on Mark Andrews right now in a heartbeat. Like, So like that's kind of, there's the give and take, right?
I guess there's kind of that. I guess I had that like kind of fantasy approach. Is like if it's not clear, like it's. I mean, Kyle Pitts is starting to turn into that point where like, he might have been more like a second, third round guy or something like that. But anyways, though, that's all besides the point, though. So you are correct. Michael Mayer potentially could have obviously replaced Hayden Hurst, but going to their expectations, I agree. I think it's Super Bowl or bust. And this one's not even that complicated. Just with this is a Super Bowl winning team. They nearly were a Super Bowl winning team last year. They could have been a Super Bowl winning team. Sorry, they nearly were a Super Bowl winning team 2 years ago. Could have been a Super Bowl winning team last year. And I just think that it's everything's just going well so far. It's this year's going to be interesting too, because then what are they going to do with Joe Burrow's contract?
Obviously they extend him.
Well, they obviously extend him, but I've even heard reports that Joe Burrow wants to also have a team friendly by team friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's going to want to have guaranteed money, but he wants to keep Jamar Chase, he wants to keep T Higgins, he wants to keep all these guys. And I think if they go that route, I mean, the Bengals can win Super Bowls, I think, for the next decade, because that is how I think I think it's going to be funny to put these two side by side where you have these teams who are paying the quarterbacks top dollar and you don't need to. Yeah, well, or you shouldn't, so to say, because let's say they pay Joe Burrow like $40 million or 45. Let's say they pay him 45.
Yeah, I was going to say
of
50 instead of 58, right?
Well, okay, even then, that's an extra $10 million a year, so to say, that can go towards offensive line, go to skill position players, or extra money that they can divvy up to sign these contracts to get these guys to come over and to play for them. And so, long story short, though, it's the Bengals. Bengals want to be playing in February. That is absolutely their goal.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go ahead and wrap up the Bengals offseason recap there. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below on what your favorite offseason edition was for the Cincinnati Bengals. Was it a draftee? Was it a free agent signing? Let us know down below. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.